Thanks for
Good
joining me on
morning.
Break Room Mom.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here, and I am super excited about the topic today because I feel like this is one that does not get enough airtime, and every parent is going to face this in their parenting journey. So I just don't think we talk about
hmm
it enough. Um, and that topic is the three-letter word, SEX. And Jen, I know it was really important to you to make sure that we caveated this as, hey, like you are no sex education expert. You're not even like a parenting expert necessarily. But what I love about you is you are also the mom to two girls, and your oldest is 6 years older than my oldest. And so you've hit certain milestones, you've had certain conversations that I can learn from as I, parent my two little girls.
Yeah, definitely. This has come from just a lot of research and a lot of therapy and a lot of just like diving in and trying things and seeing what works and yeah, learning along the way with my kids.
And if I could describe your approach, I would call it sex positive. And what I read the description of that today. And what it means is you face the topic with no judgment. Like it's very natural and normal to talk about. And if I had to describe your approach, I would describe it as such. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And also just anti not talking about it.
Yeah.
Normalizing it. We talk about so many other things. Why is this one off the table? And we can dive into why that is, and that's going to go back to how we were raised and how things were discussed with us. But why not?
Why not?
It's part of life.
It's part of life, and it's just as normal as putting your shoes on in the morning and learning how to tie them and teaching our kids how to tie their shoes.
Yeah, it's body parts,
I have a whole bunch of questions that we're going to get into, and we're going to have a meaty discussion around this topic. But before we do so, we're going to roll into my favorite part of the show, which is our turn for a tantrum, where you get 60 seconds thereabouts to vent about anything your heart so desires. I'm going to let you go first, and then I'm going to roll into my tantrum.
All right. I have a few, but I picked one to throw out here.
Okay.
Perfect attendance awards.
Oh.
We have award ceremonies every 9 weeks in elementary school. And perfect attendance is a big award that these kids get. And it's bullshit because we don't want kids showing up to school sick.
Yes.
I think it's great if kids want to go out of town with their families and see the world and, live.
Yes.
And why are we celebrating the alternative?
Man, I love that. Not to mention, give us a break on those mornings when we're just running behind. Right? Just give us a break.
Yeah. Perfection's not the goal here.
And I don't know if your school is the same, but my daughter's school has this rule, if you miss more than 10 days, they'll actually pull you out of the school.
Yeah, they will contact CPS potentially here, if it's too much to just have a conversation with you.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, we just went to Europe for a couple weeks and,
which is a different form of education.
Culture. Probably better. Yeah.
Probably better. You know what? I'm going to head into my tantrum. And here's what I'm going to say, Jen. I never intended for this podcast to be political. I never really wanted to go there. I wanted this podcast to be fun and lighthearted and explore different topics of parenting. But today is a really heavy day. So I'm just going to say two names and then I'm going to let it lie. And those names are Renee Good and Alex Pretty.
It's really hard. I think part of the juxtaposition is, it's hard to have to keep parenting and, cut up apples in the morning when you know that these things are happening.
Yes.
And I don't have good answers for that.
Yes. It's really hard to slap on the smile and the happy face with everything going on. It's also opened a whole bunch of other conversations with kids and describing what certain things are and what ICE stands for and immigration and all that kind of stuff. So definitely adds to my whole concept of this podcast, which was we're facing some really unprecedented stuff as it comes to parenting.
Mm-hmm. And these aren't actually political topics. These are just human decency, And if we want to raise decent, we want to raise decent humans, we need to talk about these things.
Absolutely.
So,
all right, my friend, let's talk about sex.
Let's do it.
I was really inspired by your parenting journey as it relates to sex because you're a proponent for educating like as early as possible. And in fact, like, my girls' ages, and you were even encouraging me, like when my 5-year-old hit 5, like, go ahead and start having some of those conversations. So why was educating your kids about sex like early was important to you?
It was not important to me originally. There's like a trail that occurred that led me to this. It's not something that I just acquired on my own. And, found this perfect path and went down it, and now everything's done and good. I'm in a book study with my therapist, who facilitated by my therapist, and we read a lot of deep and meaty books to like push you to think. We read a book called Boys and Sex, which really delved into hookup culture, consent, masculinity, all those things that boys have to deal with as they grow up. And it was really insightful and a really cool perspective. And especially because I'm not a boy and my children are both girls, it was nice to be exposed to that. And so as soon as I finished that book, I quickly found that the author had another book called Girls and Sex that she had written previously, actually. So I went back and read those, which led me to her website. And that is where I found a lot of resources. So if you go to her website, her name is Peggy Orenstein, and it's just peggyorenstein.com is her website. I'm not affiliated with her at all, but a big fan. It led me on this path. So I read a book from there called Beyond Birds and Bees, and it was talking about a mother who is American. Her children are American. They moved to Amsterdam for a few years, and her children were young, and she was quickly exposed to a culture very different from ours, where sex is just an everyday topic. It is not taboo. It is not shameful in any way. And it's just very openly talked about. And it was, for me, that was very opposite from how I grew up. And it was just kind of mind-blowing. I was like, wow, like it doesn't have to be like this. Like who would have thought? So I really read that. I think I might have read it twice, actually. And just really leaned into what she was saying and the perspective that she had and the experience that she went through. And that led me to get a group of books that were for children, because I'm reading all of this and I'm like, this sounds awesome. I want to be like this. But I'm still a human who was raised not talking about sex. It was very like taboo and shameful, and the one quick conversation and we're done here. And so I'm not just automatically changed from that. So I need help. Like I can't just walk into these conversations and do all of this perfectly. So I got these books, and I didn't give them to my kids. I started reading them. So my point is, you don't have to go into this an expert. You don't have to go into this confident even. You could go into this scared. You can not know what to say. You can fumble. You can come back. And it's all okay. The point is to just get it out there, destigmatize it, and get talking.
A couple of things from what you just said. I read a book, and I'll have to chase down the title, and I'll make sure I link to all of these books that we're chatting about, but talking about teen pregnancy rates in the Netherlands and how low they are in comparison to the US, and they credit to what you just said, like not making it taboo, making it just a part of normal everyday life, like in driving down some of those rates. So I think we should be looking outside of US culture for inspiration as we think about each of these conversations with our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we have this concept that if we don't talk about it, then it doesn't exist. And it turns out that's not true.
Yeah, we know what those kids are doing.
Not helpful. I'm in the middle school years. It's happening.
It's happening. It happens younger than we think. Gee, first of all, you have those books right in front of you, don't you?
Yeah. Do you want to listen to them?
Can you read the titles of them real quick?
Yes. So the first book, do you want me to show them or just use them?
Yeah, go ahead. Do it.
All right. The first book is called It's Not the Stork, and they're all by Robbie Harris. And this one is identified for ages 4 and up. So this is what I started with. And I think we, as parents, or I should speak for myself, I was afraid that I'm going to open this book and here's sex, page 1, and tell them this. And I was scared and like, I don't know how to do this. So my offer is that that's not how it goes. There's in this entire book, there's one page that actually says what intercourse is. The rest is, about body parts, how boys and girls' bodies are the same and how they are different. It talks about puberty. It talks about different kinds of families. So, it's already getting into ways that adults can have children, and intercourse is not the only way, it turns out. So it walks you through these things so that you don't have to feel like you're just going in blindly and going from 0 to 100. So that was very helpful for me. All right, the second book is It's So Amazing, and this is listed for ages 7 and up. And it's just building off of the first one. So it's slowly getting into more complicated topics, more detail. And then this is the book that we are currently on, and it's for ages 10 and up, and it's called It's Perfectly Normal. And this is going to get into a lot more about like consent and your right to pleasure, and it says Changing Bodies, Growing Up, Sex, Gender, and Sexual Health. It even gets into like gender identity and a lot of nuances, which I think this is all under the umbrella of sex.
Yeah.
And it's not just one thing, turns out.
Yeah, I love it.
There's a lot there.
I love it. And we talked about education as the building blocks and then continuing to build on the concepts. And that's exactly what these books tend to do. I like, even in the first book, I believe it's in the first book, it identifies what's different about a boy's body versus a female body, but then it also talks about boundaries and touch. And if you are touched inappropriately, find an adult. And if that adult doesn't believe you, find another adult. And if that adult does not believe you, find an even different adult and make sure that you like continue to flag this. And so I loved that because that's something that I felt really strongly about educating at a very early age. And so I was glad to see that book mentions that, pretty early on.
Yeah, I mean, we're giving our children language for things that don't feel good, potentially, that can happen to them, so that they aren't in their heads thinking, this doesn't feel good, but it must be me. This doesn't feel good, but this is an adult that my mom trusts. All of those things. We need to give them words and language so that they can, have a voice.
Talk to me. So you mentioned that with your childhood, it was taboo. There was stigma associated with it. Did your mom have the conversation with you? Did you have a conversation at all?
I remember one conversation from my mom. I already knew what sex was, probably very skewed, like a very skewed definition from my friends. And it was in the middle school range. And her approach was, when you find the one, this is something that's magical and amazing.
Yeah.
And that's all I remember. And so
Wow.
there was no conversation about anything else, really. Feelings, the concept that it might not be so great, or that you might not want to do that, or that you don't need to do that if you don't want to, or, like, no advocating for yourself, no nuance. It was just like, my work is done here, find your soulmate, and everything's, rainbows and unicorns. And for
Find your
me,
soulmate.
it didn't quite go that way, turns
Yeah,
out.
I don't know that I know many people that it does go that way.
Yeah, right. So the result with that is that you feel like something's wrong with you because it doesn't go that way. Like it didn't happen that way. It's not very realistic, turns out. And there's so much more gray areas in this. And it would have been nice to have, more information.
Absolutely. Yeah, if I think about my childhood, my family was very religious, or I came from very religious parents. So it was this idea of kind of like what you were saying, you wait for the perfect person and you wait till
Mm-hmm.
marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost shameful if you did not wait until marriage. But as I think about how I want to raise my children, I don't want to put that intense pressure on them. I want them to experience sex with a partner before they decide to spend the rest of their life with a person. I
Yeah.
mean, you got to
Yeah.
try the shoes on to make sure they fit.
Right.
And you and I kind of chatted about this prior to today, is with your mom, it was kind of a one and done. For me, I think it was kind of a one and done, if not from my parents, at least from like a cringy middle school sex tutorial. But if we think about the concept of education and the way that people learn, it's through this idea of repetition. It's also through the idea of you introduce one concept and then you continue to
Mm-hmm.
build on that concept. And so I like
Right.
what you said about the conversations have started with your daughters and then they continue, because it shouldn't be treated
Mm-hmm.
as like a wipe my hands clean, did it, checked that
Mm-hmm.
box.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's going to be new things that come up. There's going to be new questions that come up. And then as they experience it in quote unquote the real world, you want to feel like you're a safe place that they can come back to for more information.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my goal in all this is to provide accurate information, one, so they're not getting it from, the teenage boy down the street or the girl who's already done all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And provide a safe space for them to keep coming back to, and to just be real,
Yeah.
and to raise empowered children who are, have bodily autonomy at the end of the day.
So I love your journey. It was very personal. I'm going to say that because it was you doing a lot of the work, which led you to have the conversations with your kids. And you talked about finding some age appropriate books for your kids. Do you remember what ages they were when you started the conversation?
Yeah, so I went back and looked. I bought these books in 2021.
Okay.
So they were 6 and 8. And I feel like the 6-year-old was kind of right on the money. The 8-year-old, I wish I had started sooner.
Really?
And it just so happens that my 6-year-old is more vocal and she's more willing to like dive in. And that has been fine because my oldest is listening, and though she may not ask all of the questions, she's still getting all the information. And the more you do it, the easier it gets for everyone.
For everyone involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what I
Yeah.
loved about you in our conversations, because you started at ages 6 and 8, and I have a 5 and a 7-year-old on my hands, and you were like, go ahead and start. And so we did. And I'm so glad we did. The 5-year-old, it was, I don't really know what she took from it, to be honest with you. And maybe that's part of her personality, but my 7-year-old had amazing questions. And when I showed her the book, I think it's called It's Not the Stork. Again, we're going to make sure that I link all these.
Yeah, that's the first one, and there's like a trio of books, and there are plenty of others that I haven't gotten into, but those just happen to be the ones that I went with.
I think they're great. I think they're great resources.
Yeah.
But I showed her the cover of the book and I said, hey, this is what we're going to chat about. And she was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. I have so many questions
Aw.
about this. And I was happily surprised, kind of
Yeah.
flabbergasted, but also just happily surprised because it meant the door was cracked and I could
Yeah.
make my way on in.
And that's great for you. That means she's, comfortable coming to you and she's, no longer in her head about these things.
What reactions have you had from family or friends who you've made aware that you're talking to your kids about this pretty early, or that you've shared, hey, this has been my journey. I would highly suggest you intercept it early as well. What have folks kind of said?
My mom and their other grandmother were taken aback and quite quiet, expectedly so. Just in the same fashion as they, were raised to not talk about this, they still don't really want to talk about this. So, I didn't go into this asking for permission or approval. I was letting them know in case my kids are bringing anything to them.
Yeah.
So I think it was important for them to know what was going on, but there wasn't a whole lot of feedback. My friends and the people I'm surrounded with are pretty progressive thinkers, I would say, and they were very receptive. And now I have several friends who have either gotten the books or have gone down their own path. And that's really nice because you can now bounce ideas and experiences off of each other and, not feel like you're the only one going through this. And yeah, it's nice. It's good resources.
Yeah, absolutely. Sex myth or like misconception, can you remember from your childhood? Like, do you remember? I think everybody has these cringy moments, right? Like where you're going down the hallway and someone tells you, like, if you eat the green M&Ms, they're going to make your boobs grow, or like something like that. Do you have any like fun tales from the past, from your own, or I guess maybe even your kids coming home and asking something?
I don't think that my kids have asked anything too crazy yet. I remember listening to a lot of music about sex and really having no idea what they were talking about, but I felt I felt it in my heart. And looking back,
gosh. So much of the music we grew up in, and we're belting the lyrics too.
Yeah, I was listening to Boys and Men, I'll Make Love to You, thinking, yeah, I got this. I know exactly what they're talking about. Spoiler, I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really hated the myth or the concept of like virginity. And looking back, like I felt that a lot. I think all girls felt that was something we were losing, because that's what we say, losing your virginity. And I really hope to change that. I don't want, you haven't lost anything, first of all. Second of all, you can define sex however you would like to. There's not this one way that it's, that's gone now, that's done. So that's a misconception, I would say.
Yeah.
And
I like that. You're not losing something. You're actually like gaining something. I mean, you're gaining an experience.
Hopefully,
and hopefully it feels safe and right
good
at the time, and good, and like you feel like you're in control of the decision. I really like that idea, that reframing.
It's this concept that we're giving something away to most likely a boy, and that they are taking it. And
yeah,
that needs to change.
Yeah. My cringy story, and I don't want to take us down too much of a path here, but my cringy sex-related story is in middle school. I can vividly remember 2 or 3 boys being like, Julie, are you cold? Julie, are you cold? And me just being like, yeah, I'm freezing. Like the classroom is freezing, and like not having a clue why they were laughing or why they were being like, yeah, we can tell. And now as an adult, I'm just like, I still sort of like cringe at that moment and think, gosh, if only I had known. And yeah, A, they're assholes, but B, if only I had known and had maybe a stronger handle on certain anatomical things and
Right.
reactions.
Yeah, you weren't given the information. And so,
Yes.
Yes.
Ugh,
That's what happens.
super cringy. Super cringy.
Yeah, I think we all have those moments.
Similar to you, I haven't found tons of mom friends that I've shared that I'm going down this journey with my kids yet. And honestly, that's on me because I probably haven't had the conversations with my mom friends in the same way that I have with you. But I did share with my parents that we were having these conversations early and talking about it. And I just remember my mom being like, really? But not judgmental. Like I give her like full credit. I don't think she was judgmental at all. I don't think she was like, oh, but just kind of surprised. And I think to your point, like it's that whole concept of ready or not. Things are happening and you got to get to them early.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair reaction for them. They were raised with even less than what they gave us, most likely. So, this is going to be jarring for them. And, that's good.
Do you feel like having the conversations or starting the conversations early on made a difference? Your kids, I mean, you now have a teenager in the house. Do you feel like it made a difference in your relationship with them or their ability to come to you with questions, to feel comfortable coming to you with questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I think the earlier the better comes into play. Like if you start with a teenager, it's going to be harder because they already have that embarrassment built in there, the shame, they already can sense that this is a different topic than, any other body parts on your body or other experiences. So the sooner the better. And yeah, it helps build trust. I think if you start early, you start laying the foundations of trust. And you don't have to go from 0 to 100, like I said before. You can just, you're tossing little conversations, little 10-minute conversations here and there. And the next thing you know, you look back and you're like, all right, we've got like a good groundwork laid.
Yeah.
And it feels good.
I also think the longer you wait, and if you wait till you're hitting those teen years, you may be undoing a lot of misinformation. Versus just starting out with a lot of biologically, anatomically accurate information.
Yeah, I want the kid who hears this like crazy thing and they're like, no, that's not how it works. That's not what happens. Like, man, that's who I want to raise.
100%. I love the idea of one of your girls going into like total boss mode and telling off some little boy, like, yeah, you don't actually know what you're talking about. I would love that. Let's talk about your current relationship status.
Let's do it.
So how we know each other, Jen, is you are actually in a relationship with my best friend that I love so much. You were in a relationship with a man. You got married. We acknowledged earlier that the two of you divorced and went your separate ways, and you have now entered a same-sex relationship with my bestie. So I can only imagine the journey of talking to your kids about that. But also when we think about like the building blocks of sex education, did that offer more or different opportunities for you to talk to them about what sex looks like, between two men, two women? Did they already have that knowledge? And so you didn't even have to really resurface it?
Luckily, I had laid some good groundwork with same-sex relationships. I was a wedding photographer for 12 plus years and shot same-sex weddings, and I made a point to show them, those pictures often. So they knew that that's a thing, that's normal, it's out there. Because we live in a small, fairly conservative, mostly white community. So they don't get to see as much diversity as I would prefer them to. So there was some groundwork, but for me, this is a brand new experience. I've only been with men previously, and I attribute a large part of that to how I was raised and how conversations about sex went. There was zero discussion about anything other than a man and a woman. And I quickly understood that is because that was not acceptable. So here I am very consciously undoing a lot of that for myself. And then, that trickles down to my kids. So that was not I was very worried about it. I was worried how they would react, if that would be confusing for them, how they would feel about that. And turns out it was nothing. I was like,
wow.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Which felt so good because that meant that I had done a decent job on that front.
Oh my gosh.
And it does provide for very obvious more conversations because it is very clear that sex is not just for making babies, all of those things, all the nuances. It provides perfect examples to show them that and teach them that.
I love that. And kudos to you because the fact that it wasn't even a blip on the radar says to me A, they love you for who you are no matter what. B, you've laid that fantastic groundwork to where it's not super jarring to them, the idea of a same-sex relationship. And C, I mean, you picked a good one, so.
I did pick a good one.
I'm really ready for Disney to crack open a princess on princess story.
Right.
Because that's something that at such a young age, my 5-year-old is constantly like, what boy am I going to marry? And she almost feels like an intense pressure around it. And we kind of talk to her about it doesn't have to be a boy. It can be whoever you want it to be. But also if you don't want to be with someone, you never have to be. That is a choice.
Right.
It's just one of your many options. But I think the whole princess on prince and all that kind of stuff has kind of gotten her thinking in a linear path.
Yeah, I mean, they're receiving information from a million different sources. We are hopefully the biggest one. I think that's the goal. But yeah, I correct every time I can. I'm always changing when to if. If you would like to get married, if you want children, all of those things. Because
I love that.
I really want it to be choices. I want you're in charge. You're in charge of your body.
What advice, again, I want to reiterate, neither you nor I are experts here, but what advice or words of wisdom would you have for a parent who is thinking oh man, we got to start doing this, but I just don't even know where to start? What would you say to them?
Deep breath to start. Acknowledge that it's scary. Educate yourself first. That's what made me feel confident in doing this. Is I didn't just walk in and say, guys, I'm going to teach you what sex is, and here's what it is, and then my work is done here. It's a understanding that it's a long process, and it's actually a rather slow process. It doesn't have to. I've been doing this since they were 6 and 8, and they're now 11 and 13, and we're still on book 3. We're still talking. We just had a conversation about crushes and what that feels like in your body, last week. And so these things are still happening, and they will hopefully continue to happen potentially for the rest of our lives together. So be okay being scared doing it. Take it slowly and, utilize the resources. Talk to your friends if you have that kind of relationship, and take away that concept that you have to do everything alone and, do it how your parents did it or anything like that. You're making your new path. You're making new rules and hopefully raising well-grounded and secure children at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also I would go into these conversations and say, look, guys, no one had these conversations with me, so I don't really know how to do this well. I'm going to fumble. It might be awkward. We might both feel embarrassed, but, we're still going to do it. And I think that, I think you can gain credibility with your kids as they get older by, not coming from a place of perfection.
Yeah, I love that. I love everything that you said about the advice. I also love the aspect of showing the vulnerability, whether it's, hey, I didn't have these conversations in my youth, so I'm just going to try my best here, or acknowledging like, hey, this is uncomfortable for me too. But we've just got to do it, and we're going to do it together, and I'm always a safe space.
Exactly. Laugh with them when they start giggling because they see the body parts on the page. You laugh too. Like it's funny.
Yeah.
Keep it light. Keep it real.
Yeah. My oldest, I think I shared with you after we made it through the first book, or the first or the second book. She's terrified of sperm. And I'm like, hey, look, they look like miniature snakes. Like, I get it.
Exactly. Exactly.
They're not doing themselves any favors by looking the way they look when depicted in children's books.
True. Fair.
So yeah. I love, just being able to giggle in that moment, or to say like, yeah, they do kind of look like little snakes, don't they?
Yes.
Was just like, to your point, just a moment of lightheartedness, and then we kind of moved on to the next thing.
Yeah, if you start this young, they're receiving this information the same way as when you teach them what their elbow is and, what their feet are for. Like it's no different in their mind until that conditioning starts to roll in. So if you can keep that perspective, you can get out of your own head, because obviously that's not how we experienced it.
But now that your kids are starting to enter teenage years, what has shifted in your approach with them?
I think it's the nuanced areas and the gray areas. Like if you've started early, you've covered the basics, you've repeated it enough that like it's working knowledge at that point. So by the time you get to the teenage years, you're talking more about how things feel in your body and how you would like to experience these things. A lot more about consent, I would say. Like you really start getting into consent and doing things because you want to versus external sources. So it's actually, I enjoy it. Like I like talking to them about these things, and it's nice to hear their feedback. It shows if you listen, do a lot of listening. Let's say that as they get older, do more listening, because they're going to tell you where they are and what they're experiencing. And then that can kind of guide you as to where you should head next.
Okay. As they get older, you switch from you're the driver to maybe you're just receiving the information and correcting or elaborating on where they're already taking you.
Yeah. I think
I do remember
nice.
Your best friend saying like, those preteens, stay up late with them, because the later it goes into the evening, the more they want to talk. I don't know if that's true for your girls, but I do remember her saying that about her daughter.
Yeah, and be the one who drives the kids around. And you just listen. They're in the back seat. You just listen.
Oh, but you can get a lot of good nuggets that way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You can kind of find out like where they are in terms of like certain things. Like you use it as a barometer of just like, they're starting to talk about so-and-so kissed another person.
Yes.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah. That is a good pro tip right there, Jen. Be
it really
the driver.
Is. Yes, that is not my pro tip. That was actually given to me by someone with older children. And I can't remember how the conversation came up, but she was like, you know what? You be the driver. And your kids may be more aware that you're driving, and so they may be more apprehensive, but the other kids are not. And you listen, and you just listen.
Ooh, I like that a lot. I'm going to have to remember that. And I'm going to have to not let my husband be the driver, because I'll ask him, I'll be like, what did they say in the back seat? And he'll be like, what do you mean? I was just like listening to my music.
Yeah, right. And I hate driving, so this is a big commitment for me.
Oh, yeah.
The driver.
All right, my friend, we are almost at the close of our time together, but I want to talk about cheat codes. So cheat codes are anything that you have implemented in your life to make it all just go a little bit smoother as a mom raising two daughters, and a lot of times solo in that sense. So do you have a cheat code?
I have a practical cheat code and like a more philosophical cheat code.
Ooh.
I'd say my practical cheat code is to remove the goal of perfectionism. I am not going to be the mom who cooks all the meals and has dinner ready every night. I'm not going to, have the outfit for the school day every time. It's just not going to happen. And to remove that necessity out of your brain, just let it go. Like when you look back on all this, that's not going to be the barometer for your quality of parenting. So letting that go is a big relief, just on a day-to-day basis. But my philosophical cheat code is to go to therapy, work on yourself, and find what's happening inside you so that you don't continue those patterns with your children.
I love it.
And teach them, like show them, tell them that you're doing that, teach them that, make it normal, like normalize that so that when they need it, because we all need it at some point, that it's not scary. It's just like any other doctor's appointment or help that you can get.
Yeah. You get your eyes checked. You should get your brain checked and your heart checked. No, I love that. I'm a big proponent of therapy as well. And I think especially as parents responsible for the upbringing of other people, being the best that we can be for ourselves helps you be the best that you can be for others.
Yeah.
100%.
Exactly.
Well, Jen, I have really enjoyed this time with you. Thank you for doing this. I have so much admiration for you in the way that you are raising your daughters. Obviously, when it comes to the topic of sex, which is what this, whole conversation was based on. But even outside of that, you have two amazing children. And I hope you know that. I love being around them. My kids love being around them. So snaps to you, my friend.
Thank you.
All the way around.
Too. My kids are looking forward to seeing yours soon, I hope. This was fun.
Yes. Thank you.
And thank you to you for having these conversations. Like, I think just the more conversations that are had, the better we can be as humans.
Yeah. Thank you.